And let's welcome in Amazonian back to the broadcast. How you doing? This has been some incredible action so far, don't you think?
I got to watch Darkness win twice today. I'm in such a good mood.
And we've got so much more action to cover as well. I mean, I'm just going to let you kick it off, Casanova. I know, Amy, you're probably so excited that you get a chance to see that Zoe Heimerdinger again. Maybe.
Oh, so excited. Hope it doesn't get banned. Don't see why it would be banned, but we have the opportunity to maybe see Szychu pilot that to victory. And he's going to have to, because if he loses in this next round, he's not making it to top 8.
Yeah, it's an incredibly important match between these two yet again, because this last match, we saw everybody get tied up 1-1. The same opportunity is here in Szychu versus Odyssey. You know, both Europe and SEA have had kind of middling results so far in the World Championship, and both of them are looking to turn it around for their region, especially, you know, Odyssey sitting at 1-0, looking to solidify a spot where at minimum he's getting to tiebreakers if he can find that victory over Szychu.
It's going to be a hot match, and I'm looking forward to seeing their matchups against each other because both players have pretty good decks. We've got Odyssey on much more kind of typical meta picks compared to Szychu's Feel the Rush, Zoe Heimerdinger, and then, of course, a Tri-Beam deck to round things out. Yeah. So we saw the Zoe Heimerdinger deck before. It did not perform all too well, but we did see kind of the utility of the cards in the deck. And then, of course, we had the Feel the Rush. Feel the Rush might not have worked for him, but it's worked for other people so far today. So maybe it's the lucky card of the day. And, of course, the Draven, Caitlyn, Ezreal list here, rounding out a beautiful Tri-Beam.
Well, Szychu was able to find the win with the Feel the Rush as well. It was the Heimer tech that let him down in the previous set, and we'll see if it can turn around because those matches were incredibly close. Szychu was playing very spectacularly. You can argue that there was some high rolling on the other side that was able to help turn those games around because both players played so good. It was so close, and then at the end, there was just a couple unfortunate circumstances. So Szychu trying to keep up that level of play going into this round against Odyssey, who has another, you know, very different lineup than Szychu. Everybody's lineup is different than Szychu's. We've got the Ping City with Gangplank and Twisted Fate. We've got Scion Draven, and we have the Bandlewood Beatdown, the Poppy Lulu with those rallies going to be able to try and push through a lot of extra damage. It's going to be interesting to see how this lines up against Szychu's lineup, because this is one where it's finally something different, right? You're used to a lot of the other matchups we've been seeing all day, but this time you have to go up against an FTR, a Heimerdinger. Does Odyssey know these matchup tables? Does he know what he needs to mull for? Does he know how he needs to play around these two decks? FTR is one we have seen for a long time. It had its time in the spotlight in the meta. Now it's back. But does Odyssey remember how these new decks are going to want to interact? It's the big story of this matchup is, can he play properly into Szychu's kind of off-kilter lineup?
These are the best players in the world, and they're all good at thinking on their feet. So even though they may not have ever practiced these matchups, I'm sure we're going to see some big brain plays from either player.
Yeah, I think Odyssey, at the very least, is going to be prepared or understand what he's going into. And also, because they were able to see the lineups at a time, I'm sure, knowing that he was going to be in Szychu's group, he probably did get a little bit of practice against this lineup to make sure he wasn't going in completely blind. It's going to be a tight one between these two, and it matters so much to Szychu to be able to get this. He's been playing this game since the very beginning, since it came out. He's been competing in tournaments. He's had some great placements across DORs and Jam Fests of old. He's done a great job continually coming back into fight nights. The seasonals have always been a little bit tough for Szychu, but he did top a couple of them, and he has been able to push his way to the top 16 of the World Championship, and he does not want to stop here. He wants to take it a little bit further, make it to that top 8, but he's going to have to do it without FTR. That is going to be the ban from Odyssey. Scion Draven banned away by Szychu.
So we've got a slew of nice decks left over, and that's all up to what gets picked first into this match. I'm a big fan of seeing the Lulu Poppy aggro deck rallying and getting in quick kills, and I think that it's going to be quite good against the Heimerdinger deck, but might struggle against the Tri-Beams.
May run into some issues against the Tri-Beams overall. I do wonder if the Heimer deck is going to do okay against the overall beatdown plans. I'm worried for Szychu on the Heimer list in particular. I think it's Targon. It has the ways to heal. It's got some decent removal that it's pulling from Bandlewood with Buster Shot and Pokey Stick. Those can deal pretty well with some of the units that are put down on the side of Odyssey. But in general, Heimer lists have been out of the meta for a little while, and there's a reason for that. They can struggle against some of these mid-range decks, some of these more aggressive-leaning decks that are just trying to deal a bunch of damage to you. So we will see if Szychu can find the win, as Heimer has been crux that has not allowed him to win that first matchup. He is going to be queuing up with the Draven deck instead. First, though, Odyssey going to be on the Bandlewood beatdown.
We see the Demacia rally deck down here versus Ping City. Is that? No, we're going against Tribeam here.
Yep, going up against Draven Caitlyn, and well, it's actually more of a Draven Ezreal.
It is. This one is running 2 copies of Ezreal, 1 copy of Caitlyn, which means that this is a build that is running a bit more targeted removal, things like Time Winder, rather than going for more indirect damage off the Caitlyn traps.
Just going to be trying to deal with this board as much as possible and then look to finish with the Ezreal. He does actually have on the top end of this a Captain Farron. There's not many of those in this tournament, but it is still a very good finisher. So if Szychu does not have another way to find that victory, he still at least has that at the top end. Farron used to thematically deal 20 damage by creating 3 decimates and having 8 damage of overwhelm. Now he only creates 2, but it's still a lot of burn damage, and Odyssey isn't really running any healing in his lineup, so Farron can be a great finisher against both of these decks if the game does grind out that long.
If you're getting to turn 10, turns out that 8 damage to the face can still really close things out.
8 damage to the face can still, of course, be insane. Odyssey, though, just starting with the Bandle Commander, he does have this Mayor available, but it's also a Poppy turn, potentially, and I think that's the consideration we're looking at with Odyssey is, can I afford to just slam my Poppy? I know if there's like a Thermo Beam, I actually have Sharp Sight, so can play around that.
I mean, it's not just that. Poppy could also just be taken out by a double-axed block from Draven. I don't think it would happen, but it's a possibility.
True. You could axe and block with Draven. I think the Odyssey would be fine with that, though, because he still has the combat tricks of Sharp Sight and the Ranger's Resolve. He'd be able to, counteract that, be able to still keep the Poppy alive. The open attack is interesting.
It's Mayor time.
Yes,
it's Mayor time.
It is Mayor time, but I think he's playing around the Arachnoid Sentry here. I think is what Odyssey is doing, is he didn't want to swing or play the Poppy because he was afraid Sentry would come down. It would make his attack really bad with the stun. And instead, he can go for the open, get the Owlcat, and then set up Mayor, which allows him to go much wider. There's going to be the get excited. I wonder if we see the Sharp Sight to protect. We do.
That's very good. It's going to allow for a free Owlcat to come down and the potential for this Scout Yordle next turn. Now, this card has not really been put into many decks, but it is a great get off of the Bandle City Mayor.
Yeah, it can be really nice to give those HP buffs, especially in a matchup running a lot of damage-based removal. So having higher toughness on all your units is going to be really solid.
Getting the swing in twice. Sometimes this acts as removal, but we're going to see Draven on the attack. Not going for a preemptive buff, just swinging in here, generating more discard fodder.
All right. It's the Ranger down. We see Szychu kind of shaking his head. He doesn't have a way to deal with it straight away. He knows those buffs are going to start to come through. It's going to make things a lot more annoying when he's trying to deal with the board, but at least he's got a lot of chump blockers, potentially. A lot of blockers in general. Goes for the Sump Dredger, though. Plays the 4-3 out and picks up an Arachnoid Sentry, which is going to be really nice if Odyssey decides to develop, which is feasible because this is a Poppy turn.
I think that next turn, getting maybe one attack in with the Scout and then going for Poppy and the Tracker, not in that order, could be the line of play here. Szychu does have direct removal and a second Get Excited in hand, but it's not able to take out the Scout.
Yeah, the
so here we go. Getting those buffs. Practically healing the Mayor back up.
Yeah, this is kind of...
I say practically, because Ravenous Flock is still a card.
Yeah, This is still interesting because Odyssey is probably going to go fully wide on this turn, but he doesn't value the HP buff on everything else first, because I think he's continually playing around Sentry. This has been a constant throughout each of his turns that he has the attack token, is he's playing around Arachnoid Sentry. So he wants at minimum to get the scout attack with this, because if he develops anything else, it's likely that Szychu would play an Arachnoid Sentry on the Ranger so that the scout attack can't come through. So now we might see Odyssey develop because he's tested the waters. He's like, okay, I got my one attack in, I got one buff. Now if I get Sentry'd, it's not as bad because I still got one attack and we can still get the Poppy down to do so. So I do expect to see it develop to go wide and then look for a Poppy swing. And there we go. It's going to be Tracker, then likely Poppy. Keep up mana for Ranger's Resolve.
Oh, and the pass back there. Szychu very much holding his cards. But now that Poppy's hit the battlefield and the attack is imminent, Szychu has to act. Last chance to get that sentry and stun a unit.
Yeah, I imagine Szychu's determining whether it's better to go for a get excited on Poppy to try and kill her straight away, or if it's better to go for the sentry. I think the sentry is generally better because he has no backup for this get excited. If there's a combat trick, Odyssey has a massive blowout to this get excited getting thrown at the Poppy, because you just answer it and then swing in with all of this. Szychu probably going to want to go for the sentry onto the Poppy. Ends up going onto the Ranger. Worried about that health buff, but Poppy's still going to get her buffs through.
So Poppy's going to buff up this entire board, and once those blockers are in place, we may see Ranger's Resolve, especially because I think this get excited might be happening here to do something like taking out the Mayor.
Yeah, the Mayor, you can either just trade the Sentry for the Mayor, or you can look for something with the Get Excited. The Commando's going to be buffed out of range of Get Excited, importantly. And
now a 2/4. Ow, wow. A 2/4 elusive's very nice in this matchup, especially because it can really just body Ezreal as well.
Yeah, it can. It can continue to just block him out, not let him get any Mystic shots. Draven going to trade away. This Spinning Axe might come down onto the Arachnoid Sentry just to try and trade away with the Poppy. And then we'll likely see this Ranger's Resolve come out. And it's a blowout on this board. This is really brutal because it keeps the Poppy alive. It keeps the Mayor alive.
Yeah, there's no more Spinning Axes. And it means that that Get Excited will only deal 2. And 2 cards for 2 damage doesn't sound very good right now.
Yeah,
So here comes the Ranger's Resolve. Defending this board and leaving them open for another swing. This also means that if Odyssey manages to top deck a rally, he'll be in a really good spot to swing back in.
Yeah, if he top decks the rally, it's likely the game is over. As he does have this wide board, there's not going to be enough time for Szychu to develop to stop it. But that is not the case. No rally for Odyssey just yet. Has to wait until at least the next turn, and you can try and put together a defense. I think Station Archivist makes a lot of sense to try and protect yourself, but those aren't the spells you were looking for.
Now, a Rummage and a Poro Cannon. If you're looking to get a little more cards in hand, the Rummage is good for things like discarding the axes, but it might make more sense to play the Aloof Travelers to build up the board and draw into another answer.
Yeah, I like the Poro Cannon take because at least it's cheap chump blockers and you can block the elusive so they stop generating all of these hungry Owlcats that are being played for free. It does feel at least reasonable, but instead it is just going to be throwing down the Twin Blade Revenant. You will get Buster Shot. We'll likely see this Poro Cannon played to create a new one and just to create the Poros in hand without actually playing any of them on this turn because, of course, there's no mana left for Szychu. Some fumes on Poppy, though?
Some fumes, though. Picking up the Poppy, always a smart move because she just adds up to so much damage, especially on a 6-wide board. But Odyssey had the chance to make this a 6-wide board again with a second Commando.
Yeah, Ken just put the Commando down. Continue to go on the elusive beatdown plan.
How many Owlcats will he make? The answer,
good,
too many. Too many Owlcats.
They're all spell shielded as well, so they're just such a pain for Szychu to have to deal with these. He can try and deal with them in combat, but you need this value engine if you're Odyssey, because eventually you'll get outvalued by the Lost Soul. However, if you at least have just a bunch more junk to keep playing down for free, you might be able to just overwhelm Szychu and get this last 9 damage in.
All right, Odyssey, you're running out of time, and right before the timer burns out, going for the commando. And now we're going to see maybe an open attack. I think it makes sense. Get that scout in there, force a block, and then swing in with everybody. And notably, that sharp sight draw is a way to get through even more lethal, because there's 3 elusive damage unless a Poro gets played, which is a very slow move. It is a move, but it's a slow move. Those are getting in.
Yeah, they are making it in, trying to slowly deal enough damage. You can play elusive blockers to stop a little bit of the onslaught. Aloof Traveler's going to come out. Discards the Buster Shot. Still going to be a Sharp Sight. This wide attack is pretty terrifying. I don't know if Szychu has answers, and the Sharp Sight can protect one of these that may have been removed by Get Excited. Right now, we have 6 damage coming through. There's 9 health, so Szychu's not dead yet.
And if Odyssey wants to, he could bring Szychu down to 1 with a Sharp Sight.
Could have put him on 1. I don't know if there's any direct damage in this list. I'm looking, no pokey sticks, nothing of that nature. Putting him to 1 really wouldn't be much value for Odyssey. He just needs to find a way to get this last attack in. A rally is kind of the perfect top deck at this point, but the Owlcats are just making it so he can continue to just have a 6-wide board.
Constantly wide. These 2 ones, more and more Owlcats to contend with. And these Owlcats have been growing. Thanks to the Ranger. Like, there's a 3-5 Owlcat on this board from the Ranger attacks and that 1 Poppy swing.
Yeah, the 3-5 Owlcat. It's a chonky boy. We got a chonky Owlcat, a couple little ones off to the side, but the fattest cat I've ever seen, I think, at 3-5.
And we are seeing Szychu putting a priority on getting these elusive blockers out, which makes a lot of sense. And they are also 1-1, so they are able to deal with the Owlcats as blockers if they need to. But getting the Captain Farron out, getting 2 decimates in hand, that's 8 damage coming in, and only a little bit of it could be prevented with that chunky Owlcat block.
Yeah, you can get the chunk in there, let him stop a little bit of the damage. You can eat up 5 of it. You'll only be taking 3. You got to be a little bit worried about the decimates, and yeah, we'll see the young chonk get in. Try and get the blocks. Stop a little bit of this. There's elusive blockers for Szychu now, though, and you can at least stop the onslaught of these Owlcats being put through. Bandle Commando. Odyssey, is there a break point here that he's worried about? This would be going down to 12 instead of 11? 11, you're dead to double decimate, Get Excited. So I think Odyssey is playing around exactly that break point.
That's an extremely heads-up play. And it turns out that Szychu has double decimate and the Get Excited. But there's the Poppy on the attack. Now this Poppy can be protected by the resolve. We're actually going to see the first attack with the Scout, though.
Yeah, first Scout swing can come through, give up the buffs. Start to push some additional damage, but it's just going to take out a blocker. Everything's going to have to be chumped from this point forward. Only 3 damage needed for Odyssey, but Szychu has been able to put out so much garbage, so many chumps to just stop this damage. He still has more in hand, too. He's got Sump Dredger, he's got House Spider, he's got another Poro. He's got a lot of ways to just stop these attacks from coming in.
Yeah, and Odyssey knows that all he needs to do is get 1 unit through unblocked. That Ranger's Resolve is still 2 additional damage.
Yeah, the Sharp Sight. Yeah, the Sharp Sight would be able to find that extra 2. So anything that gets unblocked is going to end the game. Szychu's not going to let anything be unblocked.
So we're seeing the full board wipe here, but that's really not that bad for Szychu. Farron still currently alive, and the burn damage in hand. That overwhelm might be what cinches this game.
Yeah, because Szychu effectively only has to find 1 more damage. He has 11 in hand. He has the decimate, the 2 decimates, and the get excited. All he has to do is find 1 extra point of damage, and he can get there. And the Farron staying alive means it's incredibly likely that he finds that. It just has to deal 1, so even if you sharp sight this Vandal Commando, you block 7.
That's
the
one
Farron
coming
still
through.
has done enough.
But you see Szychu building out the board, I think cautious of a rally, knowing that a
Yes.
rally would be devastating.
Yeah, he can never play these decimates until he knows that he can survive or play them through a rally. And Relentless Pursuit picks up. He's got a wide enough board. He might be okay to get through this. But Odyssey, this is the bet. He needed to draw it now. He was running out of time.
Those decimates are slow. Will the Relentless Pursuit be enough?
I don't think it's enough. I think Szychu's going to be able to just take this. I mean, this is going to deal 5. That just means he gets to only go decimate plus get excited. He only needs 1 action. And you get it immediately after the rally.
And no longer does Relentless Pursuit go on the stack as a fast feed spell. No, this is slow, going back and forth. We've got the Overwhelm coming through. Odyssey at 7. With more than enough damage to close out the game.
Yeah, it's just
A
decimate
single
plus get
decimate
excited.
and a get excited. On the stack all at once, there's no way to heal.
There's the rally. There's the decimate. Get excited and come down at any point. Or Szychu can just play the second decimate if he can survive the attack. But most likely, we will just see. There's the buff up, the sharp sight. It's an elusive. Szychu can't block it. But he does have the get excited. That's all he
Can't
needs.
block. Can deal 3 damage to the face. Szychu burning his way to a win in this first game.
Yep, takes it down with the Draven Ezreal. This deck, we've expected to perform well. We've been talking about it all day. This deck has just been phenomenal. It's one of the most played decks right now. Just playing Noxus plus P and Z in general, playing Draven, Draven Sion, Draven Ezreal, Draven Caitlyn, whatever. This deck is really good. It's gonna find you victories. Now is the question mark for us, Amy. This is the question mark. We love that this deck is here. We're excited to watch it. But it failed Szychu earlier. And now he's got to find a win in these next 2 games with the Heimerdinger.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I believe in the Zoe Dinger winner. So let's see it. Szychu going up against, looks like Lulu Poppy once again. And that's a nice pair of cards right there. That Zoe and Loping Telescope to open up the game.
Running it back with Bandlewood Beatdown. Not having any 1-drops available. There are just the 3 trackers, so not really too crazy to be missing out on that. But also not finding a Bandle Commando to go with this Lulu, which is what you want. The Brightsteel Protector you like to find later. Get value out of that barrier. So we'll see if Odyssey top deck something that smooths out the curve. Bandle Commando to answer the Zoe would also be nice. Does have a sharp sight that can do the same down the line if needed. This Zoe is getting too much value, but yeah, kind of a weak first 2 turns for Odyssey. Just gonna pass, bank the spell mana, and set up to play Mayor and Lulu and all that the next few turns. Probably just a turn 3 Mayor is gonna look nice.
A turn 3 Mayor is always a good play. Turn 3 Mayor feels good to have. And double Mayor at that. We might see the chain of the Bandle City Mayor here. And, ooh, good choices there. Moonsilver, always a nice choice. Reduce the cost of a card in hand. Also gets you a free turret or Heimerdinger.
It's true. Again, find those really cheap turrets. These options are all really expensive, so it might be a tough decision. I wonder... Odyssey's probably just considering Ranger again, because it's nice, but I do think the Portal Sled's good. I love this choice, though. Shark Trainer is a very aggressive choice. As we get to that late game, getting those short tooths coming to widen the board. Get that overwhelm damage through. It gets through a lot of the junk. And if you can play it on turn 5 by playing your second Mayor on turn 4, that is an incredibly powerful play. 1 mana Lulu available.
Casanova?
There's a lot of good stuff to do here for
Casanova,
Odyssey.
1 mana Lulu.
1 mana Lulus. Double Mayor, no answers in hand for Szychu to deal with these yet. So
And going
Odyssey
with
has
the-
the run of it.
And here we see the fabled turn 4 Heimerdinger going into super cool star chart to get a 2-1 with tough.
Yeah.
Now, I've mentioned it before and I'll say it again. This is something this deck is very good at, making 2-1s with tough.
It's great at making a million chump blockers, which is actually good in this matchup. You need to be trying to stop this beatdown from coming through. If you make enough chumps, eventually you might be able to crack their board and actually break it down. But the problem is Odyssey is playing a lot of high quality units way earlier in the game because of the double Mayor. We have a Shark Trainer coming down on 5 with a rally available. This is starting to get scary very quickly. Szychu is very fortunate to have that 4 mana Heimer though, because like you said, hey, what does this deck do? It makes the 2-1 toughs really easy. And we're gonna need Szychu to be making plenty of those to try and protect himself from these attacks.
Vandal City and Demacia not very good at getting overwhelm units, which is where those really don't do too well. But just in case something huge does come down on the board, there's also a Solari Sunhawk ready to stun. Odyssey, of course, just waiting for the turn to be passed back to him to slam down some of these nice discounted units. Here's the Kingpin.
Who's Kingpin?
Saving the Shark Trainer for another turn. Possibly going for double barrier and rally? Could that be the play?
I do wonder if he goes 6 wide and rallies, because it's a little bit hard on only 6 mana to deal with that level of pressure this early in the game. And
You could protect one of the mayors with
Yeah.
the other barrier and
then you
protect
buff the
one
other
of
one.
them with the Lulu buff.
Yep, exactly, yeah. Sunhawk, though, coming through, gonna stop the Kingpin at the very least.
Gotta say, this is a beautiful line from Odyssey.
I wonder if he goes through with the line or not. I'm curious, because the stun came down. It reduces the quality of it a little bit. There's still 4 mana left, but yeah, he's gonna go for the Relentless Pursuit. All right, he's holding up Sharp Sight mana. He's keeping flexible. Here's another blocker. I like your line though, Amy. I like the protector onto one of these mayors. The problem is now a mayor dies even if it's buffed by Lulu, because the charger is such a great blocker because it's 4 power. Toughness does not matter, which is why Heimer does a good job at blocking this, because the toughness doesn't mean anything. You just need the power to actually clear the board back.
Life is meaningless. Gotta see it right here. No, it's not. It's all about this combat. So we're seeing the second Bright Steel stay in hand. And the swing in with one mayor being buffed. And there's only one multi-region card left in hand anyway. So you
Darkness
don't
was
need
in the
those.
last set. Darkness was in the last set. We can't go that dark here. We can't go that dark. That was the last game. Can't be saying life is meaningless around here.
Do you want me to say life is meaningless instead? Because Shh. Never
Okay,
hush.
hush. Onto the Lulu. Gonna let that get cleared away, but leaving one of the mayors up. And Odyssey can protect the other mayor with the Sharp Sight. He wants to keep that value going.
That's still 7 damage getting through, which is pretty big. Though we are seeing the clogging up of the board. There is a fearsome turret now out here. And Lulu swinging in, getting another star chart.
Yeah, Zoe's actually very close to leveling up. And that with the
Oh my gosh,
turrets,
she is.
because
She's
the
at,
turrets have so many different keywords.
She's at
is-
7, I think. Yes, and once you start playing turrets after she's leveled, everybody gets every keyword from those turrets, which is going to be tough, fearsome, and the big one from the Sunburst is elusive. The 6-drop turret is the elusive one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Zoe is going to level. I'm looking at this board. I'm looking at what Odyssey can do. He can't do anything to her. She's leveling before her next attack, so she's never dying to a Sharp Sight. The Poppy's gone to a Sunburst. There's elusive. If Szychu has a way to level this Zoe while playing this elusive turret, if it's the actual level up, it is! They're all elusive. They're all elusive.
They're all elusive. From now until eternity. And also, this Zoe buff is permanent. Even if the Zoe dies, you know, she can just be thrown away in combat. This turret action is still going to be happening where Heimerdinger makes a turret, everybody gets the keywords, and the board builds out. But this is just so much elusive damage. Still, we do need to see blockers here to prevent Odyssey from just chipping away at those final points of damage.
Yeah, but Szychu can block, and then on the next turn, as long as he can try and go off a bit, he can start to redevelop a full board once again and continue to chump. One of the scariest things left in this game is that card on the right of Odyssey's hand, Shark Trainer. Because if Szychu was to fall to 1 HP that he was considering going to 1 here. We see the block actually come out now. But if he had gone to 1, Short Tooth might have been able to find a way to get that extra last damage over the top of the chump blockers. So Szychu, by playing it safe here, has unknowingly played around the potential overwhelms that are going to come out of Odyssey.
And now with Lulu is leveled, we're going to see a help picks every turn. And Szychu getting many 2-cost spell. The Super Bowl star chart can give all the units overwhelm. It went for the stun, all right. Getting the Crescent, and now Heimerdinger is leveled up, which actually changes things a little bit. Means that these turrets are going to be even bigger.
Yeah, I mean, Szychu can consider getting aggressive with this Crescent Strike. We just saw Odyssey completely tap out. You can Crescent 2 of these, look to go for a very wide attack. It is 17 life left for Odyssey, so it's going to be hard to present a lethal threat on this turn, and maybe you just want to hold this for Odyssey's develop on the next turn. You can Crescent defensively, protect this life total. I think that's more likely because Szychu probably does not have enough gas to push forward 17 damage on this turn.
I like to think of this elusive Heimerdinger. Something about that makes me very happy. I feel like just watching the ninjutsu going through, sneaking under. This is Heimerdinger in disguise getting this damage in.
Yep, double Crescent. I think Szychu's going to lock this up because he's not dead on open.
No?
Oh, wait. Or is he? Is he dead on open? Oh, no, he has healing. Okay, I'm thinking of the Short Tooth plus the buffs, but he just used a Sharp Sight.
We could see the Guiding Touch happen right now. Yep. Bringing Nexus health back up to 7, generating a 3-2 tough, giving everything else tough, which is nice against the Overwhelm.
Yeah, without both buffs and having 7 HP plus the mana for Star Shaping, Szychu is safe now. If both buffs were up and you have the ability to use health picks to pick the blockers, there was an opportunity for Short Tooth to do an insane amount and potentially find the win, but that is not there anymore. The blocks are available. Short Tooth is not going to be doing enough damage. We're going to be able to see it. There wasn't even any spell mana, actually. There's no spell mana, so you can't even summon it.
Oh, it has to be specifically spell mana.
There has to be spell mana.
That, I think, is the beat. It means that Szychu is not dead here, and instead is actually healing up Heimerdinger. Doesn't even need to heal up face.
Feels really safe.
It is getting a massive turret, and this is the quick attack turret for 5.
Yeah, you get the quick attack turret. He just needs to put one more buff onto Heimer so that he doesn't actually go down to this Dark Tamer, and we're going to see that. He's got the Sunblessed Vigor. He's going to put that on.
This board is going to be full post-attacks because these turrets were not necessary to end this game. Oh, we are seeing
Heimer
the post, though.
Heimer dies, but he made so many turrets, and they're all going to have all of the keywords, and he also has a Destroyer in hand to give the whole board overwhelm.
We're seeing a little bit more Mayor action out here. Giving the choice that's free, the Protoporo, give him the Bomber Twins, which would have to wait until next turn. Same with this Scout for next turn. But it's time to fill up the board with all of these turrets. They're fleeting, so they have to be cast right now. So we have Tough, 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 and Quick Attack.
Another rally picked up. I wonder if
Here's
that's going to
the
matter at all, because I think the Destroyer...
There's the Overwhelm, and... Is that enough to get through? I'm trying to think if the 6-6 goes in front of the 6-2 or the 9-7.
There's definitely enough health to block, because it's 23 damage.
Yes.
But will Odyssey have a board after it's done? That's the biggest question, is like, is Szychu... I mean, regardless of if he's dead here or not, Szychu might just be winning it off of gaining all this board presence.
Yeah, and having more refill in hand. If you look at Odyssey's hand here, there is a Rally and there is a Smith. But Szychu has removal, stuns, removal, and then filling up the hand even more with things like the Aloof Travelers and another Mayor. And of course, there's the one beautiful excess damage with the Pokey Stick.
Yeah, a little bit extra, just as a nice touch, but yeah, Odyssey.
It's also card draw, which is nice. It replaces itself.
It does.
It turns out that if you take Static Shock and you cut it in half, it's still a really good card.
Pokey Stick. Yeah, it is Pokey Stick. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Odyssey doesn't have enough, right? There's potential to bank the spell mana here to get a short tooth, but there's 7 life for Szychu. He's got double Crescent Strike. So if you have to develop, then you're going to get stopped. At least there's not a development immediately, but you block the Scout attack. You Crescent Strike to stun.
There's the attack, getting the Shark Tooth. Trying to decide how much of that overwhelm damage it is safe to allow through.
Yeah, you've already seen the one riposte, so you actually can just let this short tooth through if you wanted. We do see that both the blocks will come out, and then we'll just see the Crescent Strike from there to try and slow down this attack. Pokey Stick will be able to clean up 5-3. And go for both. Or is it going to be a Buster? Buster Shot Pokey Stick? Oh, Sunburst.
Sunburst Pokey Stick.
No funny business at all.
And this means that a second attack, or a third attack, or a fourth attack will not result in getting extra Shark Teeth. And we did see a little bit of a time walk there. And Ace.
Yeah. We're back to Szychu's attack, but the sides have been flipped, it seems. Szychu gets the swing in. We see the fist bump. Szychu ties it up. And guess what, Amy? Both of these groups are a wash across the board. It is 1-1s down the line, and now every single match from here on out is going to qualify people to the top 8.
It's going to go down to the win it for the in it. And I'm so excited to see there's been these turnarounds, and we got to see the off-meta pick, the Zoe Heimerdinger, do what it does. It made those 2-1s, and it won the game with them.
So much incredible action that we've seen today. I just can't believe that we are in a position where the last 4 matches of the day are going to decide it all, who's going through. This is so cool to see. Day 1 was so exciting, but Cass, day 2 has been such a treat as well.
It's been such a treat. These games are so close, and the groups are so exciting because every match is a win and in for these players. I'm so glad I got these last 2 matches to set this up, tee this up for the rest of the day, because every single one from here on out is so incredibly important to these players. So much pressure, so much at stake. I'm so excited for the rest of the day.
If you don't believe us, let's show you the standings so that you can see exactly what's going on. Group C and Group D, across the board, everybody is 1-1. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You win and you're in to day number 3 of the Legends of Runeterra World Championship. This is going to be so exciting to like just to finish out the day. I just can't believe what we're gonna be able to see. So
It means the stakes are real in every single game, but it also really goes to show you how evenly matched these players are, because between their deck picks and the way they've played out these games, everybody's managed to win and everybody's managed to lose.
yeah,
This
I
point-
mean, so much diversity, right, Cass?
Yeah, so much diversity, and I just wanted to point out at this point, no more funny business, no tiebreakers, just sudden death down the line. It's going to be sweet. There's been so much deck diversity today versus yesterday, like you were talking about. We got Darkness finding wins, 2 wins. We'll see if it stays undefeated. We had Heimerdinger pick up a win finally going off, doing what it wants to do. The leveled Zoe, every single keyword, just a rainbow of keywords getting to come down. I mean, this has just been so much. We still get more of it too, which is great. We get more of these decks, more of this excitement, as there's going to just be a couple more games left.
Speaking of which, we're going to be rotating through casters once more. So, Cass, thank you so much for covering these last 2 matches. We'll see you in a bit.